Wrestling with the Future is live and on the air. I'm your host, Psychic Media Angelo, joined as always by Jeff the Ref Robinson, the guru who knew. He's the Encyclopedia Britannica of pro wrestling. Hey, Ref, how you doing, brother? Oh, wait.
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Don't answer that because I got two refs here.
Oh.
I've got two refs here. You're not the only ref in the house now, brother.
You're right.
I see another ref in the house. We're joined by Jim Old School Connoly from the great province of Canada, one of our smaller territories here in the States.
It's a little bit true.
Yeah,
Canada's our baby sister.
Yeah,
So
we play Canada from time to time.
Right?
Exactly.
And keep your loonies to yourself there, Mr. Robinson.
Yeah,
No pennies.
that's right.
How's everything going with you, brother? What's fill me in on the weekend wrestling. Let's go over a little housekeeping.
Well, I mean, I think. Well, the one thing is still that's coming out. Well, we got the NXT Portland Takeover pay-per-view this weekend. I don't know if you watch it, Jim, or not, but I'll tell you what, NXT is one product to be watching right now because they are. You want old school again? They're old school with the new school mix, and they're a good job. Hey, when you got Steve Corino as a producer in the back, you're not doing half bad, right? So
exactly. Exactly.
You got Steve Corino and Shawn Michaels as your producers. How wrong can you go? So the significance of it being first time that they're going to be on a Sunday, first time that they're not going to have the WWE big boy carrying them into it, and let's see how they do on their own. I think that they're going to knock it out of the park. I really do. Once again,
Jeff, not to interrupt you, but everybody's kind of the same mindset that they have what it takes to carry this without the help from the big roster.
They do.
And I really believe they do. And Jeff, and I've been very vocal on this show about it. I'm not a huge WWE fan, but I love NXT. Yeah, that's the one product they have that really does mix, and you said it perfectly, Jeff. The old school feel and the new school twist.
Yep, and they film down there at the Full Sail University normally, which gives you that old studio type feel.
Yeah,
the crowd is live and in living color every night.
It's very reminiscent of old school Connoly's favorite promotion, the NWA.
Yes, sir.
I like the old NWA, and I like the new NWA as well. But I do like NXT, and I do watch.
Let's talk about that. How do you feel about the NXT product?
I love it personally. I have a friend there who's reffing there, Daryl, and he loves it. And it just gives an opportunity for the younger guys and the older guys. I like the way they're bringing back some of the people.
Mm-hmm.
And making it a promotion of their own. Before, I think we looked at it as a sort of a farm team kind of atmosphere, but now it's a promotion onto their own.
Yeah.
I love the early days with Bailey and stuff, and you saw stars being born.
Sure.
It's interesting to see that certain people, Bailey, for example, really hasn't got the popularity and that she had there. So why not just stay? I mean, I just think that it can be a company that people could actually stay there and work towards instead of looking at it as a roster. I don't watch Raw or SmackDown.
Well, the one thing is, Jim, and I don't know if you know this, but there are not quite a few, but there have been a few different guys recently who have said, do not pull me up to Raw or SmackDown. I want to stay here and make this my brand, and I'll take the lesser pay so that I can stay at home with my wife and be at my kids' t-ball game on a Saturday morning, as opposed to having to worry about going on tour. So
exactly.
Yeah, it's really nice that they've created this product. I don't know if that was their original goal, but I think that's what's ended up happening, and I enjoy the product totally.
Yep.
It's just nice to see it, and you've got a lot of people being employed, which is what it's all about, right?
Well, I like the fact that you said something now that was really important, Ref. The fact that They're establishing themselves as their own entity. Mm-hmm. The fact that they're creating for themselves a brand within a brand, mm-hmm. It won't be long. And Jeff and I have had this conversation, but you're going to see them, I believe, at some point really break out of the WWE, quote unquote, WWE brand.
Yep.
Into their own brand. I really believe that's going to happen.
And that's good for everybody. That's the way I look at it. It's good for everybody.
But the key was, what you said was, everybody's making money.
That's what I'm saying.
And that's exactly.
As well, so, okay.
Can I chime in real quick on something? That is something
sure,
that is.
Sure.
I think that right there is the key point that's missed on a lot of fans these days that are on social media. They want to make it the war that we had of WCW versus WWE. It doesn't exist. I mean, no. The numbers are not there to even have a true war anymore. Mm-hmm. And why not just sit back and enjoy whatever you want to enjoy, or enjoy both of them? If you're a wrestling fan, you can enjoy both products. Honestly, you really can. AEW, you may go, you know what? That match was crap, but you know what? Yeah. What Cody's doing is really good. What MJF is doing is awesome. What they're doing over here in NXT is amazing. Why not sit back and just enjoy it all?
Well, that's what I said the last time we got together. We've had this conversation privately and on the air. There's plenty of wrestling. First of all, let's back up. It's a really, really good time to be a wrestling fan.
Amen.
That's first and foremost. Secondly, there's ample product for everybody to enjoy. If you're a diehard NXT fan, well, there you go. That's for you. Mm-hmm. If you're a diehard AEW guy, God bless you. But if you're a guy like me that's a casual viewer, I watch a little bit of everything and I enjoy it.
And you don't need to be told.
I turn it off and I watch something else.
And you don't need to be told that you're wrong for liking one product over the other.
Exactly. And, and we've had that discussion, Jim. We did a whole show on social media and wrestling. And people telling you, well, you're wrong for watching this because it's a horrible product and blah, blah, blah. But I think that, what are your thoughts? I think there's plenty to go around.
I love what Jeff just said. It's like, if the fans would just enjoy it. It's a great time in wrestling right now.
Yeah.
And I read one today. I was just reading it. It's the social media. It's not the fans. Wrestling fans are the greatest people on earth, period.
Real wrestling fans.
As a fan, I stood in line. Within 5 minutes, you're talking to somebody. I've met Josh Alexander, who's a really big wrestling now. He's worked for Impact and things like that. I met him in the line of a wrestling show. Ron Hutchison, my trainer, who I broke in with, I met him in line at a wrestling show.
Wow.
Just chatting, and it's just fun. Today I heard one, and it was like, wow, I saw this wrestling belt. It's set back to championship 50 years. What? Because you don't like the belt. I was so blown away.
That's amazing.
They're critical of the smallest things and the smallest details. Hey, watch fast forward button is my favorite thing.
There you go.
I watch AEW.
Sure.
Favorite. The only one I don't use fast forward for, NWA. I love it. It's an hour. Wrestling on TV is an infomercial for the big shows. They haven't figured that out yet. Infomercials, 1 hour. Thank you.
Exactly.
My opinion, I'm old. But enjoy today I haven't watched NXT this week yet, but I watched AEW last night in 20 minutes. And there was some great stuff.
Minutes.
I love the ladies divisions in all the shows right now. I like them the best, which is I love your title, the future of wrestling. What's the future of wrestling? The future of wrestling is women. And
I was just going to ask you, Ref, what are your thoughts on the boom in women's wrestling?
Well, not only that, in reffing. If you asked me, I didn't know what you guys were going to ask me. So one of the things I thought of, what would I think of the future of reffing? And I thought, women. We've got Aubrey Edwards out on AEW is doing a great job.
Yes.
And I wish I could, I'm a little jealous because, we have one in Canada that I know of. Her name's Emily Parker, and she actually gets flown in to work shows. Flown in. I don't know about Jeff. I'm lucky if I never get trans, let alone get a flight somewhere.
Yeah.
They've got, as they, every promoter will tell you, refs are a dime a dozen.
There you
and
go.
You've heard that, Jeff. You have. And
we both have
now
heard
all of a sudden, girls are getting flown in, and there's big. I mean, when I heard Aubrey Edwards, I've done this for 20 years, and I've basically never done TV on a regular basis, anyways. And you see Aubrey Edwards and say, "Gee, gosh, it's been a great 2 years." What? 2 years on national TV? Right. That's awesome.
Now
but,
I got a question for you. I actually do have a question for you, Jim. I've thought about this because I do not referee anymore. I do security now for my promotion, but I do help out as far as like giving pointers to, guys that I can. How would you feel if a female referee is brought in and they tell you because she's a female, not because of her skill, because she's a female, we're giving her the main event tonight over you?
Well, it's kind of happened to a certain extent because there was a promotion that I was supposed to be working for, which will remain nameless. And then they brought Emily in to take the place. Now, it was a totally female promotion. Honestly, I met her lately. We had a referee seminar with my friend Daryl from NXT came in and did a seminar for referees, something that was unheard of 20 years ago. And so she came in and she, rides with the boys and stuff. So she came down. And she couldn't be any nicer. And I've seen some of her stuff. And like Aubrey, she's efficient and good. And it's their time. It's their time. It's like women's wrestling.
Good.
It's their time as well. And
yeah,
I love to be bitter and say I'm losing jobs to females. And you find out that maybe that. Women wrestlers and things may make a bit more money and things like that, and they can sell merch that we won't talk about. And my best friend is a female wrestler, beautiful Bea Booker. She's amazing. Cheap plug, but I don't think I'm jealous. I just think it's their time, and I love it. It's like, to be honest, I watched WNBA. I used to coach basketball, and I used to tell the kids, I said, stop, don't ever watch NBA, because I was teaching at 11, 12 thing, because I said NBA, I said it's an entertaining sport, and they, they're carrying and double dribbling every time they carry the ball, because they don't want to cut. It's not good for the advertisers, don't want to see it. So, but the women's sports they're much more concerned with fundamentals and basics, and I find the same thing in the wrestling. I see the stuff more. I watch it, and I'm loving AEW. The girls there. I worked with Chris Statlander once, and I just went, oh my gosh, she's got it. I worked with Phoenix, her first in ring appearance, along with Gail Kim and some of those ones. I did a lot of their first appearances.
Wow.
They had that whatever you say. But it's basics. Beth Phoenix, nobody, Rochester, New York, had a great collegiate background in wrestling. So even though she was green as grass when I worked with her, and she screwed up her spot, it was supposed to be my first bump. But that's okay, because she did, make it up by being wonderful and fabulous. But she had this great collegiate background. So she worked, the minute she locked up, you just went, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and that's something I think a lot of people don't realize, that us as referees, that we do when we're in there, we're dancing with them just as much.
Well, we're going to talk about that a little bit later, Jeff, when we get into the full conversation. We're still doing a little housekeeping right now.
Oh, no, I got you. I was just agreeing with him on that one. Now,
I know you, brother, and I love you, but sometimes
no, I wasn't going to go down there. I wasn't going to go down there yet.
Okay,
but back to back to the housekeeping deal.
Yes.
The one other big thing is, and I mentioned it on the Rest Roundtable, but I'll mention it here too. Simone Johnson coming in, Dwayne Johnson, The Rock's daughter, coming into NXT.
Yeah. Let's have that conversation. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, the girl's got a shadow, the size of the planet, cast over her right now that she's got to step out of. She's got some big, huge boots to fill.
Oh boy!
But her being the fourth generation female to come down that pipe and that lineage that she's got behind her, I think that she's going to do okay. But it's going to be up to the fans to not compare her to her dad.
All right, Jim, what do you think?
I totally agree. Great lineage. I'm a good friend of Ricky Johnson, who's Rocky's brother. So the people's uncle, as he's booked. Although he's my age now, so he doesn't do too much working. But yeah, it's a great lineage, and all I can do is wish her well. But I mean, everybody, your name will only get you inside the door. You have to prove yourself. And
there you go.
Well, Jim, we had that conversation the other night, and we had varying opinions on it. So I may as well get your opinion on it. Does the Johnson name inevitably help her, or does it hurt her to some degree?
Oh, I don't think it definitely helps her. But as I say, she's going to have to work really hard. I mean, when Charlotte Flair came in, I certainly had my arms crossed saying, yeah, prove it. And the first match didn't do anything for me.
Jeff had that same opinion. When Charlotte came in, everybody, I guess, just by attrition, everyone wants to compare you to your famous, parent or relative. In this case, the parent. But how do you compare? And I could see maybe with the son.
Yeah.
And it's hard too, because I'm not just saying any wrestler. If it's a mid-level wrestler, that's one thing. But in my humble opinion, maybe the best wrestler who ever laced up the boots, Ric Flair. Right. He did a lot of stuff in Toronto, so I got to see him for a long time during the Steamboat and Jay Youngblood kind of years.
Sure.
He was just an amazing athlete. So Charlotte, we didn't want to see her as a mid-level wrestler. We want to see her as a champ. I was lucky enough to work with Tessa Blanchard not that long ago, and she also. She couldn't have been any more generous with her time, helping out the younger wrestlers, and worked as hard as she could. And as I say, it gets you in the door, but you got to prove yourself. There's been lots of people who, I worked with Scott Hall's son. I haven't heard of him much since Cody Hall.
Yeah, true.
I don't know if he's doing well or not, but I did a match with him, and I thought he was okay. But
my understanding is that Cody is working a lot in Japan right now.
Yeah, that's where he is.
I heard the same. So
that's where he's making his bones.
He's a big
Jeff. You were wanting to chime in.
No, I was going to say about Cody. Cody is over in Japan right now, but he made a comment on Twitter that kind of got him actually banned and pulled off of a tour. He made a comment about the coronavirus. He said, "Forget the coronavirus. It's more like the yellow virus."
Oh,
yeah.
And I'm quoting.
It's sad that got out. Yeah, I saw that.
And
not good.
But then again, look at who his dad is.
Yeah, we can have that conversation. Boy, what a rabbit hole that would be. Let's see. The rest of the news wise, Jeff. And you too, old school. What do you make of the fact that Vince McMahon personally pulled Cedric Alexander and told him in his office, "We're not putting any more push behind you"?
Wow, I didn't hear about that. He wrestled a lot in the Toronto area too. So
okay, I that just came out today. I know that all said was something. He said something on Twitter about, them basically alluding that they weren't wanting to push him or something like that. The rest of it, I attribute to rumor and innuendo. Unless you're actually back there, you don't know what was said. Until said comes out on a podcast or an interview somewhere and says, "Hey, look, this fucker called me in and said blah, 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 A, B, C, and D to me." Yeah. I don't buy it, but so much. I think that people assume it whenever you look like you're getting a push and they pull it back. I think that they assume that Vince all of a sudden just doesn't like you anymore.
Yeah, you know what, Jeff, though, in fairness, we've seen this happen before.
Mhm.
We've seen this play out a lot of times. History will, oh my God, we can go back to Kane. The most famous example would be Kane. They thought right after Kane joined The Undertaker, Kane's character took a shit.
No, they always saw potential in Kane because, I mean, that had actually been about a year build in Bruce Pritchard's mind. And
yeah, but what I'm saying is they pulled him. They pulled that push. They gave him mid-card matches for about 6-8 months.
Well, I mean, they may cool off on some people. That doesn't mean that they're not behind them.
Well, that's my point. If you're cooled off, they're not pushing you.
Well, yeah, but then that's up to you to make them realize your potential and show them what you got to offer.
Well, it's easier said than done.
It's up to you at that point to get yourself over and make the fans want to see you.
Wrestling are beautiful people with big egos. And
there you go.
With ego, everybody thinks they should be pushed. And a lot of times,
well,
back, and then you might get the push. You're showing them.
Well, let's talk about ego. You're talking about a guy who's probably got the biggest ego pound for pound in this hemisphere, and that's Vince McMahon.
Fair enough.
Okay.
But I don't know that okay. I don't know that he would, unless I could actually, okay, I'll say this. Do I believe that he may have pulled him into his office and said, you know what, I don't see anything in you right now. Prove yourself to me, kid. I could see that. I really could.
I could see that. I will give you that, Ref. Absolutely.
I could see him going, we gave you the cruiserweight title. We gave you a chance to get over, and you got, but only so over. I saw something in you, and yet you didn't live up to that potential.
Do you think he needs to go to another brand to establish himself?
I think that he would do very good to go down to NXT and just stay there, and that's where his home should be. That's where he would fit in.
You would say that. I was so hoping you would say that.
I think he would fit in great down there.
To go back down, to the lesser league and reestablish two things. Number one, his character.
Yep.
Because I can look at this kid and tell you he doesn't know who he is.
He doesn't.
Number two,
establish.
Well, here's the other thing he has to establish. And old school, I'd like you to chime in on this. In my opinion, I think he needs to establish his credibility. Because right now he has none. Because he's lost. He doesn't know who he is.
That goes back to my point about NXT. Why not? I like the idea of a big fish in a small pond. I mean, I started reffing at 45 years old. The chances of me reffing in the WWE or AEW or anything are 0 and none.
Be thankful for that.
But I'm a big fish in a small pond, and I love it. As I said, it's taught me stuff. I've got to meet some really cool people, and no, I've never had regular TV, which I'd love to have and stuff like that. But you know what? In my short 20 years as a referee, I've enjoyed every second, and I try to, bask in that little bit of glory. Sometimes these guys, like I'm thinking of Eric Young being a Canadian, and there's another guy. Wow, was he big in NXT?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what have you heard lately? Like it just went right down because his push, Brody Lee, another guy, not a Canadian, but certainly crossed the border enough times that we thought he was a fellow Canadian. And he's a great wrestler. And what happened to his push? And then I think he ended up leaving, or at least he wanted to. You can't always work. And now you've got other companies, but it frustrates me and maybe Jeff as well that Vince is sort of vetoing that idea of, hey, we're just going to pay you not to work.
That, you know what? Thank you for bringing that up. I really want to thank you for bringing that up, because that brings up, it's actually going to be the subject matter of a show we're going to do. The downside of guaranteed contracts. Guys that are sitting home, wasting their time, wasting their talent, but still getting a big fat paycheck.
Exactly.
You know,
I kind of got to lean on what, really quick to chime in on that one is what Booker T said. You can sit there and get that paycheck and enjoy it and enjoy being with your family and making that money and then flip that money into more money for yourself and your family and save your body in the process. Or you worry about, I want to go out there and perform my art and I want to go out there and get my shit in and whatever else it is.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, what do you really get to enjoy your money? I mean,
exactly.
Like he said,
that's Booker talking now. When he was that age, he wouldn't want to sit at home either. He was
no. Well, what he said was, if they had offered him $1 million back then and not even promised him a world title, he would have taken it. He said because
your ass, you would have.
Well, I mean, but, his point was, growing up the way he did and growing up in the cities and getting
the kid grew up with nothing.
Yeah,
nothing.
He said when he signed for $85,000 his initial contract, he thought he was living large, and he said Dusty pulled him aside and said, "Listen here, kid, you're gonna make a lot more money than this." And
not bad, Jeff.
He loves to do his Dusty. All right, Jeff. So there's one more thing that we need to discuss before I officially bring Jim Old School Connoly into this conversation. One more thing, and that is the changing face of AEW. They have a brand new face. His name is Jeff Cobb. Talk to me about Jeff Cobb.
Amazing talent. I don't know that they have officially signed him. There has nothing been officially press released yet.
Let me interrupt you there because as of airtime, he was personally signed by Chris Jericho.
Signed, yes, but not to an AEW contract yet. They got him on a part-time deal.
Okay, then all it said was that Jericho signed him.
Yeah, no. They're working a gimmick where Jericho has brought him in as a bodyguard, security, Big Bubba.
Reporting this as like news.
I got you. Just like Becky Lynch has got her neck really fucked up right now, and Dean Ambrose can't see worth a damn.
Yeah.
So
no.
I
get it. Okay. But so no, I saw this game. Amazing, really super athlete
from Hawaii. I mean, he is the seedy things, the suplexes that he delivers at his size. He looks like a Taz mixed with Samoan lineage. I can't describe him.
Yeah.
The future for him is amazingly bright.
Yeah.
AEW or WWE would do wide. He's from the Indies and ROH is where he's been making his bones for like the last 2 or 3 years. And he's been over in New Japan a few different tours. But I mean, just when he came out there last night and glommed Dean Ambrose, I mean, just took him out like he did. Holy hell. I mean, that place exploded when he came down that ramp, and he came down like a man with a mission. And that's how when you're going to do an introduction, that's how you do it, brother.
Jim, what do you think? Chime in here, brother.
I don't know much about Jeff Cobb. I know he's wrestled in Toronto quite a few times. I've just missed him every time. I've never got to work with him or anything, but what I saw last night was an amazing debut for sure. And I've heard nothing but good about him from the workers. So there you go. There's my 2 cents.
Young guy, bright future.
Anything else housekeeping wise? Nothing on my end. How about you?
No, I can't think of anything. What about you, Jim? Is there anything that you can think of news-wise up in Canada?
Still avoiding talking about NWA. I love it.
Well, we're going to talk a lot about NWA tonight.
Pardon me?
So let me officially introduce our guest for the evening. Although he's been chatting with us for about the last 30 minutes, I'm going to put you over like $1 million. This man isn't just a referee, ladies and gentlemen. He's a story. His story began 22 years ago when he first put the stripes on at the age of 45. Can you believe this? He became a ref at 45, decided, you know what, that's nice, but I want to wrestle a little. At 63, he puts the tights on and starts taking bumps.
Why not?
His name is Jim Old School Connoly. I just call him Ref. Welcome to the show, Jim.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to straighten you out right now. Jim Connoly is actually my shoot name. My gimmick name is Old School Eddington James.
There you
I
go.
love it.
Tribute to my dad. My dad's name was Eddington, so it's a little tribute to my dad. Yeah, I love doing this stuff, and I told you earlier that I broke in with Ron Hutchison, the trainer of Christian, Edge, Trish Stratus, Gail Kim. I know they had other trainers as well, but he was their first. And Christian was interesting, because the Christian Edge thing, because he actually won an essay contest. And Ron had an essay contest, and Christian won it. So he got his training, at least the early part, for free. So just a little local Toronto legend thing there. I'm about an hour and a half north of Toronto here. So when I referee 12 promotions, I guess, did 250 matches last year.
Right.
I'm on a little bit of a break right now. I was telling to Angelo a little earlier that I had a little incident. I'm not going to mention the wrestler because he doesn't know, and I don't want to ever tell him. And this is American. One of your American friends came over the border. It was a gimmicky thing where I had to do, Jeff will know about this, I had to do a run-in as one of my fellow colleagues got hurt. Now, in my case, it's a fast walk-in because I'm old. So I did this fast walk-in, and the minute I get in there, I know Cody Deaner was in the match, and he was giving her. And I got in there, and the big American man, who I will not identify because I don't want him to know, he was a super nice guy, about 250, 260, knocked me out. I decided, actually, we knew I was going to roll out of the ring because, and it was a high ring. So I rolled out of the ring and was on the outside. The bigger wrestler didn't know it, or at least lost track of what was going on. It was chaos. I mean, people are getting knocked out. Referees are lying all over the place. The big 250-pound guy jumped out of the ring right on my head.
Oh my God.
So 3 weeks later, I had some vision issues. So I went to the doctor, never putting the two together, and found out I had a stroke of my eye. So my vision is pretty weak. Added to that, because I thought I was going blind, because it was only slightly bad for a little bit. He looked at my eyes about a week ago, 3 months ago, and realized I have cataracts as well. Isn't that just on, So I'm a perfect referee. Blind in one eye, can't see out of the other. I get a needle in my eyeball. So let me repeat that for Jeff. I get a needle in my eyeball once a month. I'm going at 7:45 in the morning tomorrow to get my needle in my eyeball. And don't ask me what it does, because other than make the doctor richer. But so I can't, more than anything, I can still ref because I can't see. That's perfect prerequisite.
There you go.
However, the blessing in disguise. Yeah, but the blessing in disguise was, had you not been knocked out and had you not had a problem in your eye, you would have never discovered you had cataracts.
Well, that's probably not seeing would have been a clue, but yeah, I mean, it all worked out. He couldn't have been more apologetic, and he just didn't. There was just so much chaos going on. He just didn't look down, and he jumped out. So he was totally relaxed, all 250 pounds on my side of my head. And, it's always, Jeff will tell you, I'm sure, it's never the big bumps that you take. It's always something silly. You're going down for a count and you twist your ankle.
Oh, absolutely.
And I've never really been injured. And as I say, maybe it's not connected, but I think it's kind of a big coincidence that it was, 2 weeks later. And I said,
so Jim, you're clearly a guy who's passionate about your wrestling. I'm guessing or assuming that you've probably been, let's see, you're a young fella, so you've probably been a fan for probably 50 years or so, maybe a little longer.
An excellent guess. I would say 50 years would be perfect. I started really getting into it in the late 60s and early 70s. In the early 70s, I'd go down to Maple Leaf Gardens. That's where I met Ron Hutchison, and I was saying Josh Alexander and some of the more famous people. I've met them in lines because wrestling fans are the best. And we became fast friends. And I hit him up 25 years later and asked him if I get a job. So I was supposed to be the commissioner of the AWF, his promotion, following in the steps of Trish Stratus, but had a pair of running shoes in the car one day, and he says, "Do you want a ref?" And I said, "Not really." And he said, "Well, you got." And I was telling Angelo he destroyed my career in the first minute. Think of going in the dressing room, and Jeff will relate to this. He told the boys, he looked at them and said, "This is Jim. He's going to ref. He knows more about wrestling than you ever will." So
yeah,
the boys
my God.
and still do, a lot of them. My first match was Sin Bodhi against a local guy, and Sin, of course, turned into Kazarni in WWE. I see him most years in Vegas at Cauliflower Alley Club. And yeah, so that was the beginning of a career that I never wanted. And 20 years later, I haven't regretted a minute. And as I say, I love it to death. I'm enjoying my little bit of a break because Canadian winters can be tough, eh? And I don't want to drive in the dark with one eye kind of thing. So, yeah, so I'm taking a bit of a break, and I'm kind of enjoying it, but I'm working in a couple of weeks, and I'm looking forward to it.
You know, as listening to your story here, it's amazing that some of the greatest stories come out of accidents.
Oh, sure.
And your career, let's be honest about it, it was an accident.
Totally. 100%.
It should never have happened.
Never.
If you planned it, it could not have happened any better.
I didn't want to be a referee. I just happened to have the summers off because I was an elementary school teacher, and he was doing a 19 days in a row at a local fair. It's called the Canadian National Exhibition. It's a big fair. And he was doing every day the Ironman tournament, and he needed somebody. So to ref, who's off? And well, I'm not working. I got nothing to do, so I drove down to Toronto every day. And for the kind of money that Jeff made when he first started, nothing. And I made nothing for 3 or 4 years. And that's what I do begrudge. You were talking about, do I begrudge the women wrestlers coming in and referees? No, I begrudge people who get paid after their first year. I can tell you
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what, old school. In fairness to Jeff the ref, he was paid in hot dogs and Coca-Colas.
Yeah,
no comment.
My best payday to date was a Subway sandwich coupon.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I have been given coupons before. That's
I drove 5 hours down to the show. 5 hours. Promoter knew I was coming down. He knew I was coming from the area I was coming from. Here you go, brother. All right, where's the money for my gas tank? Here you go. Well, Subway sandwich coupon is not going to put gas in my tank to get me back to the beach.
I don't know. The fans don't really know that. I mean,
no, they don't.
On the indie circuit, because I'm basically only done indie. I've done a few big shows, which you can ask me about later. But basically, I'm just an indie guy. And we referees get. When somebody describes me, hey, I want a ref, I'll say, well, you're the gum on the bottom of the shoe. If it's a good match, you didn't do anything. And if it's a bad match in the dressing room, you are, I'm 65 years old. I've been screamed at by 20-year-olds. I drove 5 hours and you screwed up the match. And they are what I say. The wrestlers are actors, or whatever you want to say, performers.
Yeah,
right.
We are improv.
Yeah.
We don't know a lot. We don't know what's going on. I don't know what you're doing. And I get in the way. I'm old and slow. What do you want? But
I actually had one time where I had never been in a 20 by 20 ring at the time. Mm-hmm. We had brought in it was we were independent. Shane Helms was down there, Hurricane Helms, and I had already refereed probably a good dozen of his matches. This night, every time he would go into the ropes for any kind of spot, I was there. Every time he would go to do anything, I was there. Not on purpose. It was just my footing was off because of the ring. My timing was it just was not good. We did not dance well, and it was needless to say, when we get to the back, what the hell?
I've been in a 20 by 20 ring once. It's just somebody at Indy that bought a big ring. And I remember I was doing a match. I can name drop too. I was refereeing the now Rosemary versus the now Allie, maybe a decade ago with different names. And I was trying to explain, and this is what referees do. I repped a couple of matches to Ali. I said, it's a little bigger than we're used to. Oh yeah, I know. And I said, well, you might have to adapt a little bit. Oh, I know. Well, she whips Rosemary in the ring, and then realizes she's 2 steps off. Like it's just not working. Like it's just not working. She hadn't allowed for that extra.
Yeah.
Used to doing 3 steps. Well, it's 5 steps now. That kind of thing. Or you're whipping them in, throwing them into the ropes, and it didn't look good because
Jim, it's funny that you talked about that, because Jeff and I, on one of the very first shows we did, we actually talked about the technical aspect of the ring size. Mm-hmm. Jeff, remember when we talked about that?
I do.
You have to adapt differently from a 16-foot ring than you do an 18-foot. From a 20-foot to a WWE size ring, which is 25 feet. Yeah. That's a huge, huge ring.
Absolutely. And of course, we're 16 by 16 is pretty typical for me.
Yeah.
And, it's smaller, so you are in the way. You got giants like Josh Alexander or something like that. Hopefully, you know him from Impact.
Oh, sure.
I don't know if you know Mike Speedball Bailey. He's a Canadian guy who's doing a lot of Japan stuff, and a lot of talk about him. Mm-hmm. So I did a match with those two. Well, you try not. They always say, "How can you do it, old school? You're way too old for that." And I said, "You know what? In a 16 by 16, you can still just stand back and let them do their thing. But but you try to go from corner to corner to get out of the. Sometimes you don't get out of their way. You try, but it's a little bit more difficult. So I think there is a bit of a luxury with the 20 by 20, and that I see on TV. I get a little bit jealous, but it would take me forever to get to the pin. Never mind.
So it's interesting. Now, I introduced you tonight as Jim Old School Connoly.
Yep.
And right away, like a great worker, you went into gimmick name.
Well,
so here's my question for you.
Okay.
All right. I want to talk to you about referees as characters. Let's talk about a ref as a character.
Well, up here, I'm known as Old School. And I always tell the guys, like, what I'll do is, I'm pretty sure you guys know the floss dance and all that kind of stuff. I might do a little flossing before the show. I make sure I talk to every single fan in between and before. I schmooze a lot. I'm a former teacher. I love the kids. And I try to, from bell to bell, I try to be a good ref, a serious ref. But sometimes I think I used the term earlier with you, Angelo, glue. We're the glue sometimes.
Yes.
And, one of the things we do in the ring is explain the story by little things we do, whether it's a long count or we try to do things to sort of glue the story together so they make sense. The wrestlers a lot of times are really, really into their moves. They want to get their shit in. And we have to tell the story sometimes by, doing the slow count or whispering to them something. Hey, slow it down a bit. You're not, they sometimes they just, they're young, a lot of them, and they don't understand. They know more than you do. But
well, we had, how long ago was it, Jeff? About a month ago, we had Jimmy Valiant on.
Right around there. We had him January 11th or right around that. Yeah.
Okay. And when Jimmy Valiant was on, he said something interesting. He was talking to Jeff. And just to give you a little background on it, Jim, Jeff the refereed for Jimmy Valiant.
Quite a few times.
Yeah. And gave him some, ref pointers, basically. Yeah. And what he said was very interesting. He said, you're the director. We're the players. You tell us what to do. Without you, there's no show.
Yep.
Okay. So in that line of questioning, let me ask you, in your directorial duties as referee of a match, have you had a player or a worker, in this case, flip the script on you or go into business for himself?
Well, I think there's all different kinds of referees. I never wrestled, at least not in the early years. And we're blessed in Ontario to have some great referees. Harry D is now working for Impact. Of course, the great Jimmy Corderas, longest running referee in WWE.
Wrote a good book too.
Yeah, great book. So we're blessed. We just lost Daryl, who's now with NXT. So we have some great referees there. They're so much experience that they can actually call matches and actually whisper things. I don't do that. I always say, you're the wrestler, you're the boss. We're all different. And I said, all I want to do is, my favorite thing is to count 1, 2, 3. That's all I want to do.
That's where I was going with it. And I'm glad.
Nobody's really flipped the switch. As I say, you whisper little things. My biggest thing, maybe it's that teacher in me, is to protect them, make them safe. So it's like, hey, there's a little bit of water in that corner. Be careful. Avoid that corner. Hey, there's a little bump in the ring here. Avoid that. I'll whisper to them. Once in a while, we'll pass messages, that kind of thing. So it's communication, and we have, that's what our job does. Getting back to your thing about, I did want to get into a little bit, because I was telling you off air that being a character, and my character is there because I floss and I have fun with the kids and we joke. And I mean, I must admit, my ego is, we don't get paid well. I get, we're talking about gas money. That's about all I get. And so, when I get a little bit of cheering going, it's kind of nice when they, cheer for Old School. Right. I had a friend of mine, Cece Moss, up here. She sent me a thing. I couldn't make one of the shows, and there was an actual Old School, and she had filmed it, and I thought it was so cool. So I am kind of a popular character, and mostly just because I'm old, honestly. So a couple of years ago, I was telling Angela, I didn't tell Jeff this, but I actually sold merch, which is kind of a no-no. Well, the workers are not happy with that. And actually, Slam, the canoe site, there was an article featuring me a couple of weeks ago on there, and we talked about that. And the writer, Bob Kapoor, was telling me, he says, yeah, there's a lot of wrestlers that were mad when you sold merch. Well, I sold shirts. I sold out 100 in 2 weeks. I never did it before. I never did it after. And I was saying to Angelo, it's the only time, and these young guys don't understand it, it's the only time ever in my 20 years I made money.
Go ahead, Jeff.
I mean, I get where you're coming from, but I mean, I ran into that a few times because I would have promoters that would want to throw me into a gimmick of some sorts of whatever it was. There was one time there was a promoter who, it worked. It got me, keep in mind, it got heat, but it got me so much heat, it took away from the match.
No,
the promoter made me a gay referee.
Oh my God.
I would actually come in with my shirt tied in a knot. I would go down to go for a count and to claim I broke a nail.
Oh my gosh.
You're killing me.
Are
you kidding me?
I would go to break them up in the corner and start rubbing and acting like I was enjoying it.
But I've known you for how long? And this is the first I'm hearing this story.
I tell you your stories all the time, man.
I have no words. I have no words.
Keep in mind, we were down in North Carolina, Redneckville, North Carolina.
God, go ahead. It's getting better. Go ahead.
And so of course you're getting every anti-gay comment that you can possibly make. And
shit.
Needless to say, I mean, the boys are getting the boys are getting pissed at me, and I'm going, look, I'm doing what I was told by the promoter.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and then
they should have got.
Then the promoter turned around and he said he would turn around and be like, how come is it my referee can get more heat than you sons of,
Okay.
I get that. And the deal was
exactly.
And you as a referee, even if you're playing a character, you don't take away from the heat of the match.
Exactly. And we're all guilty of it. We've all done it once in a while. It's just accidentally happens, or you get carried away. The fans cheer or something, and then you realize that.
We as referees, we hear those pots and those boos, and we want them every now and then. We really do. We do.
Yeah.
We do desire that.
I mean, let me throw this name at you, Jeff, because before you joined in, Old School and I were talking about a well-known referee that became a very, very hot character and got a lot of heat. Let me throw the name Danny Davis at you.
Yeah, the referee Danny Davis, 1987, the British Bulldogs, led to them dropping the belts to the Hart Foundation, and he turned heel. The good thing was about him is he had already doing the Mr. X gimmick prior to, in addition to being Danny Davis.
Yeah. And in fairness, we should tell people that he was a trained pro wrestler.
Yep.
So that's the other thing. But let me ask you, Jeff the Ref, what is your overall opinion? Because I don't think I've ever asked you this, and I'm surprised I haven't. What's your overall opinion of referees as characters?
If it's called for and it's only going to be like for a couple months, 2 or 3 months during, and it's needed and it's called for, if you're going to turn it into an angle, whether they're turning into a manager or you're writing them out because they need time off, i.e., old school here when he just went down with injury. I mean, they could have had somebody come and gouge his eye out really quick or burn it or whatever and wrote him out. And then he comes back. He could come back with an eye patch on, screw whoever it was over, whatever.
Well, now, wait a minute now. He's already blind in one eye and can't see out the other.
So you put the eye patch, here you go. You put the eye patch on the one bad eye, and then you keep switching it back and forth throughout the match.
That's a great idea.
But
I mean, I think one of the things what I like to see, and that's why I like AEW right now, and to a certain extent NWA, and something that made me mad about WWE is they don't even mention the referees' names anymore.
Thank you. That pissed me off too.
I remember there was a guy in WWF, Izzy Moydell. Don't ask me why I remember him, but he stood out. He used to lift his hand up as well as the referees, the winners. He would lift the wrestler's hand up, but then he lift his own up. And I thought that little thing was a bit of personality.
Now, you said something. I got to tell you, when you said that, Jim, you opened up a floodgate of memories for me because I want to tell you something. I can't tell you who any of these refs are today, but I can tell you Dusty Feldbomber, Dick Crow, Lou Supa. I can tell you these names from back then.
I mean, it was a policy that I understand with WWE not to mention the referees' names.
It was it did. It became a policy, and it was all of like 5 or 6 years ago that they put a kibosh on the end. It used to be Jim Ross would be like, "We got Mike Chioda in the ring tonight," or whoever, and you're talking. I still remember Scrappy McGowan, Tommy Young,
Nick Patrick. I met Scrappy last year.
Mike Chioda, the different ones, and Charles Robinson.
Yeah.
Little Nate.
Yeah.
Exactly. Nick Patrick, etc.
It
was part of they're part of the show, and I guess I'm promoting referees in that. Yes, for background, and my biggest compliment, as is Jeff's. Hey, we didn't notice you out there. Thank you.
Well,
That's
how
the biggest
about
compliment you can give me? But I still want people to know who I am a little bit, because why am I driving 4 hours?
Oh, sure. Well, let's be honest about it. You're not driving 4 or 5 hours for no attention. You're showing up because you want people to notice you.
So if they don't notice me, great. If they notice something I do that's in addition to the show,
right?
Or, I get a lot of people saying I didn't know what was going on, and then you did the count thing, or you yelled to me. It's a lot of times I'll yell to the front row. That's the nice thing about indie. I'll go, hey, there's no rules in this match. It's a multi-man
right.
match.
Well, we another name that we forgot to mention, and I can't even believe that we forgot to mention this name. How about the son of Jody Hamilton, Nick Patrick?
Yep.
We forgot to mention Nick Patrick.
What about Joey Morella?
Joey
Monsoon's adopted son.
Sure.
And you see, the young people don't understand that when I first started watching, and when Angelo started, because we're similar ages, the referees were older. Like in Toronto, for instance, we had Fred Atkins, who was an old Aussie guy, Pat Flanagan, who was a wrestler who came over from England with Ripper Billy Watson. And these guys were not only older, they were 300 pounds. They weren't small. I'm 5'10" and a half. I'm 5'10" and a half. Oh, you're way too huge. You're towering over the wrestlers. And I'm going, well, that's true, but that's not a good thing.
I used to get told that a lot. I would be told, brother, you're a great referee, but you're 6 foot and you're over towering, or you're making my boys look small. And it's like, I can't help that. It's like
idea. And I can tell you, because I want to tell you both something that I know Jeff the ref doesn't know, and I know for sure that Old School doesn't know. The very first training I ever got was that of a referee. I trained at the Monster Factory with my friend Larry Sharp.
Sure, yeah.
And I learned to take bumps, ref bumps, by the way.
Good.
I learned to take bumps, and I learned how to work the ring.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, it was enough for me that I never want to be a referee ever again.
Thank you.
I take that. I take that actually as a compliment.
I was going to say the greatest compliment I can give you is to tell you I envy what you do, and I don't want to do it.
I hate when I see referees bumping too. Drives me crazy.
Well,
Jim Cortez told me the best line. He said, "Crumple."
Well, that's a good question, Jim. That's a really good question. Is it always necessary for a ref to take a bump?
See, one of the things, what I really mean is like a perfect wrestling bump. I hate that.
Yeah.
Corderis used to say crumple, and I said that's a great word. Like you fold yourself in, you fall down, because that's what that happens. In indie, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I can name some names that you even know that I have to bump for. There's a joke with a certain wrestler that's he's on Impact. I'll tell you that. But my joke to him every time I've worked with him is, "What time?" And he says, "What do you mean? What time do I bump? What part of the match?"
Yeah.
Because every match he's in, he makes me bump, and I'm going, and I understand why. I get it. If you're working 4 times a year and you're doing this, you want that big baby face come back, and you want the thing.
Right. But here's my question, though, Jim. Here's my question: why use the referee as the foil for that? Why not use? Go ahead, ref.
No, I actually got an input on that.
I want your input. That's why I'm stopping.
You use the referee for a bump at a particular time, and I get what Jim is saying about it maybe not needed so much on the indies, on maybe not every show that you're doing on the indies, but
do it all the time, Jeff. All the time.
Here's the if it's used at the proper time, whether it's on the indies or in the big leagues, it can be used to get heat. It can be used to, the baby face can, you go down, you take the bump, and all of a sudden the heel has 5 guys that come in and beat the shit out of the baby face. The crowd's losing their mind going, "Ref, get up, get up, get up." Yeah. And then you make that slow crawl, 1, 2, baby face. Oh!
I will tell you what, during the Attitude Era of the WWE back then,
yep,
it seemed like every week, and maybe it's just me, but it seemed like every week one of the Hebner boys was taking a bump. And always count on Earl Hebner to take a bump in a championship match. It got to be so predictable, and I think at that point, it overexposed the business.
I could say the same thing happened, though, when I was a kid and Tommy Young would be in any title match with Ric Flair normally.
Oh,
he would
yeah,
take a big bump, and then...
But what you both are saying, it was always a big match and a big show. And what I'm saying is, in indie, it's almost every show.
Yeah,
you're right.
And that's my point. I'm 65 years old. I don't need to be dropping every single show because I know the wrestlers. If it's an accidental one, the famous move out of the way and get the stinger splash kind of thing.
Yeah.
But a lot of times they catch me. I've been clotheslined. I've been lots of things have happened that I do feel it. And
oh yeah.
I don't know. I agree with Jeff that it does create heat, but it's like the old, hey, grab me, by my shoulders and then pull me over. Hey, look at the fan over there. Well, it's like, wow, can't you be a little bit more creative than that?
Right.
But Jim, to be fair, it's no different than the guys now when you got 8 guys standing outside to catch the guy from the top rope on a moonsault.
Yeah, exactly. I hate
Okay,
that
now,
too.
Jim, let me ask you this question, Jim. How does the referee play into the use of a manager in the wrestler's corner?
Personally, I love working with
What is your personal philosophy on the use of managers as distractions to the ref, and what's the psychology behind that?
I think if you have a good manager, and because everybody's brother-in-law is a manager now or cousin,
Yeah, I
um,
know.
and with and not that you have to have tons of training. My entire training was hit the mat hard and stay out of their way. That was my training for the first 10 years. I've learned more in the last 5 years than I have because I actually took some wrestling training. But yeah, a good manager. We had a couple in Ontario. They're not used very much anymore, which is sad. And a lot of them are young and don't understand the spots and come in at the wrong time, which is frustrating to me. But I like it because it's a distraction. It's legit. If the guy jumps on the apron, I'm going to look at him. That's just natural. That's human nature. And I look at him, I'm distracted. Don't put your arm around me and say, "Hey, that fan, kick that fan out because he yelled at me" or something. And sometimes that's the veterans who've done it for years, and you're just going, "Oh my gosh, stop it! Be creative." The fans are not stupid. We were stupid. We didn't have internet 50 years ago. We didn't have internet.
Right.
I know.
I have 2 university degrees, and I thought it was real, probably till I was in my mid-20s. And even then, I would watch a match and say, yeah, but maybe this part was totally, I didn't think, it was a.
And all we had were the aftermags back in the day.
Well, when you think about it, it's almost, I like to compare it to when you find out the ins and outs of wrestling and the interest and the ins and outs of it. And when you get into the business, and I ain't talking just as a fan who reads about it, when you're actually in there and you're behind the scenes and you know the shit, when you find out how it's done, it's almost like finding out that Santa Claus isn't real.
Exactly.
Oh, I know.
And even then you still want to go, yeah, but, because, for the first 3 years after my mom said, "Honey, I'm Santa," I'm going, you know what? If I don't totally believe in that big man, though, he still may not come. So
there's still matches. I remember going up to a gentleman named George Terzis. He worked in Battle Arts in Japan, and he was wrestling a guy by the name of Johnny Giubiasco. And this is maybe 10 years into my career. And I actually went up to him afterwards and said, "Was that a shoot? Because I've never seen you guys hit so hard in my life." Well, Johnny Giubiasco ended up changing his career and became Santino Marella. He is the least funny guy I've ever met or worked with. He is a shoot fighter. He's a serious fighter.
Yeah, he is too.
And my favorite wrestler,
yes, he is.
I mentioned him a couple of times. Right now, my current favorite wrestler in Canada that I work with a lot. I mean, there's so many great ones, but Josh Alexander. There's a couple of matches going, how do you not kill this guy? And 5 in my top 5 matches that I've reffed, I think Josh is in 4 of them. He always teases me and say I'm kidding him, but I'm going, no. And I've reffed Fit Finley. I've reffed a lot of guys. Josh Alexander is just amazing. But I think that it's a shoot. And I remember, now that I mentioned Fit Finley, I was doing a match with him against Harry Smith, Davey Boy's son. Just a great match. But and I don't have a lot of stories about ribbing in the old days and all that kind of stuff because, as I said, I'm an in-between guy. If I sit down at Cauliflower Alley with guys my age and Angelo's age, they're territory people. I'm not. I'm working in the present day, so they hate present day, and I'm sort of the mediator between the two sides. But, I did this Fit Finley thing. Well, he worked Harry and myself the whole match. Oh, shit, I broke my thumb. The whole match. And I'm saying, "Harry, protect him. Don't go to the other side. That's his bad thumb." And afterwards, I said, the match is over, and I go, "Fit." And I said, "How's your thumb anyways?" "What thumb?" No problem. He just worked us the whole match, and he just thought that was the funniest thing. So if you want to see a picture of me, look at Wikipedia under Fit Finley. There's an actual picture of me reffing him. So there you go. Proof.
There you go.
He sold the thumb the entire match.
Sold it to Harry and me, not the fan. I don't even know if he played it to the fans.
I have a, Jeff,
for himself. Like, how many
matches? Jeff, hold on a second, Jeff, because I got a question for you and for Jen.
Yeah.
how important, and this is maybe it's throwing you off a little bit, but how important is the promoter in what you do on any particular night?
Very.
For me, it's really important, and we have two promoters. I'll tell Eddie Osborne is probably my biggest promotion is called 365 Pro Wrestling, was formerly called PWA.
Oh, sure.
And
Sure.
we have a pre-show meeting, and he always says, and he actually lives in Vancouver and owns our promotion in Ontario. If you know your geography, that's not close. But he'll say, don't make the ref look stupid.
Yep.
That's the last thing said every single match. Don't make the ref look stupid.
Jeff, how about you, Jeff, with the Mr. Bradshaw?
Oh, I mean, the
Travis
promoter,
Bradshaw.
Yeah, no, the promoter is definitely, I mean, as far as like giving the referee the finishes and so that they know the finishes or where they're, you know, what spots are going to be needed for, if they got to take a bump, if they're going to be doing a pull apart, if there's anything, you know, the promoter is needed to they are the go-between between the boys and the, you know, I mean, the promoter, you know, they dictate to you on how long the match is going to go. Sometimes, you know, Travis doesn't do it, but I have worked with promoters in the past who would tell me, I need the guys to go 15 minutes. Keep your eyes on me. If I go like this, or I wiggle my nose, or I twinkle or pick my nose and eat my booger, you know, whatever it was, you know, they would say, you know, that's your go home cue. All right.
It's a hell of a go home
cue. I don't see that anymore. Like when I first worked with Ron Hutchison, he used to do the glasses. You know, if he took his glasses off, take her home.
Okay.
I haven't seen that in a long time, and a lot of the promoters, and I don't.
No, they have gotten away from it.
I don't want to get people in trouble, and I love everybody. I really do. I love everybody, but there's a lot of mark promoters out there, young guys, and they want to please the wrestlers.
Jim?
Nothing I do is right, and it's the wrestler, and it can be the wrestler who's 24 years old, who's hot now. They don't do anything wrong, and, you know, it must be the ref's fault. Let's fire the ref because he's
Jim, I got a question for you.
Well, I actually,
go ahead, Jeff. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to take something back now. It was actually about 20 minutes ago, but you were talking, Jim. You had said you don't really like to have to call a match for the guys in the ring. Have you ever had that position, though? Because I myself used to be thrown into that a few times. You got two greenhorns who get out there and they just freeze. And they go, oh, shit. What do I do?
Yeah. Good question.
Deer in the headlights is what I call it.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
It's mostly been women. I have a thing for women wrestling. I don't know what it is. I just love them. But a couple of times that's happened. And what I've learned, I asked one time it happened and it was death. It was two wrestlers standing there looking at each other.
Yeah.
So I asked a wrestler after, I said, what would you do in that case? It's never happened to me before. I wasn't expecting it. And he just said, always tell them and remind them it's a fight. In a real fight, would you stop?
Oh, good point.
So, grab a rest hold, grab a headlock. You know, do something that you know.
I would just always yell, snatch a headlock, and then
I do that now. The headlock is my favorite now.
Now let me ask you the opposite end of that. What about the people that always have? And I love this expression, Jim. I love this expression, and Jeff knows where I'm going with this. People who say, "Ref, just let me get my shit in." I love when people say that. Let me get my.
I think I've used that tonight already. Yeah. It's bad. The other to add something and something that Jeff and I have been talking about is it's changed a bit in the last few years. On a similar note, the finishes. And talking about getting your shit in. So I remember there was a couple of years ago, one of the local wrestlers was going to do a kill switch for the finish. So, kill switch. 1, 2, 3. And he looked at me and said, not that one. What?
Oh, are you kidding me?
And guess who got the shit? You know, what did you count it? Well, because he said I was a kill switch. So now I always ask, okay, I'm doing a pile driver. Is it the only one you're going to do in the match? what's the move you're doing right before it, just so I'm looking for it. Because, you're doing a Josh Alexander match. He loves using the stuffed pile driver, the tombstone, but you know what? He might do 4 in a match. So that's more than the get your shit in. I find it really hard to do finishes anymore when you're of our era, when a pile driver was a finish. An elbow drop, Tony Parisi. That was, that was
Jeff, I know you have a question, Jeff, but I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Have you ever counted the wrong guy?
Yes.
What? Give me the circumstances.
Well, it wasn't even. It was a case of the guy. They didn't hear my count or weren't paying attention. They go in. I'm 1, 2, knowing the guy's supposed to kick out, knowing the guy on the bottom is supposed to be the winner. 1, 2, and he doesn't move. I got to go for 3, and I've had it happen numerous times. I'm the one that's going to eat shit in the back, but Here, I'm going to put this back on the promoter. If you got a promoter worth a damn, they're going to look at that wrestler and go, you should have been listening to the count. And you should have heard the cadence.
Every good promoter I've worked for always says, hey, if the ref counts 3, that's the way it is. Whether it happens it happens in practice, though, we still get the shit if you do.
Here's what somebody told me once. And it's as simple as it gets. The ref counted 3. 500 people saw the ref count 3.
Yep.
Those 500 people can't be wrong.
No. And a lot of the referees will actually get their hands under the shoulders and lift it. I'm never quick enough to do that, but I've heard that from a few people saying that
I got news for you, brother. I've seen people do that.
Yeah, I wish I had done it with one match, and that was an NWA World Title match 2 years ago. It was a women's match. I guess I can say her name, Jazz. And she didn't kick out. Now, do you count to 3 and change the title to this young, unknown indie girl in Toronto?
Right.
Or do you ignore it? Yeah, she kicked out. Oh, no, you guys didn't see. You 500 didn't see it. I saw it. Because
I mean, normally, if you could play a good referee, and I think you would agree with me on this one, Jim, you can go 1, 2, and make it look like they kicked out, or
only two, and then
2 and inches. This close.
Almost. I talked to her afterwards, and she said, "I said, you didn't kick out," and she went, "Oh, you know what? I was trying to think of the next move."
I've had that happen. Now,
you made me look like shit, but
I'll tell you this. This is actually this story exactly what you're talking about, Angelo. I was the only referee, so I did not know the finishes until they came out there to me.
Oh my God.
The Rock and Roll Express are in there. It was actually Ricky Morton and Chris Hamrick doing the new Rock and Roll Express, and they're facing 2 little independent greenhorns.
Right.
Now, I didn't know this, but the manager was supposed to have pulled me out, so I DQ finish. Ricky,
gotcha.
I had refereed for Ricky a ton of times. I knew double drop kick finish 1, 2, 3, go home.
Yeah.
They hit the double drop kick. That's when the manager is supposed to pull me out, and he doesn't do it. I count 1, 2, 3. Next thing I know is they got me in the corner, and they're kicking the shit out of me. I mean, they got me down and beating it. I mean, we get to the back, and then the manager pulls me back out and makes me get on the mic and go, that was a DQ, and I'm reversing. It was stupid. It was idiotic, and it should not have happened.
Well, okay, Jeff, where's the promoter over here?
In the back counting his money. It wasn't for Travis. It was for a money mark who thought that he knew the business and didn't know the business. And afterwards, Ricky gets to the back. He goes up and he slaps the shit out of one of the guys. And he said, how dare you shoot on that referee when he knows he's been in a dozen of my matches and knows my finishes. And he said, and I'm the name here. You're not.
Yeah.
Well, that's happened to me 1,000 times with the managers, and I always tell them, I said, you're supposed to pull my leg. And that's the only thing that's making me stop this count. The only thing. Because so I always say, after exactly the same kind of things have happened to me, I always say, have a plan B. Have a plan B, because I said, it's like the save in a tag team. You know, if they don't make the save, kick out.
Yeah.
How many wrestlers just sit there and let themselves get pinned, and you're waiting for the save and saying, well, they might not make it. The manager might be on the wrong side of the ring. It has happened so many. I got totally blacklisted by one promotion because of that. The manager didn't make it. I made a split decision and didn't count it because I said his foot's under the rope.
Well, Jim, let me ask you, Jim. In a situation like that, which certainly wasn't the first time, won't be the last. In a circumstance like that, where all hell breaks loose and you're pretty much having to control the situation for shoot, what's your go-to backup to kibosh the situation from getting further out of hand?
That's a tough one. I think it's a case-by-case scenario. You just got to sort of, like I said earlier, I said, we're the improv. You're not expect the unexpected. Murphy's Law. If it's bound to happen, it's going to happen. And
true.
You sort of have to do it case by case. Like the Jazz thing, I didn't know she wasn't going to kick out. Like it wasn't even a big move. I had that happen to me about a month ago where I was doing the same thing, and a wrestler was unconscious. I didn't know. Her eyes were open. So I'm going 1, 2, swoop, sweep.
Yeah.
I'm going, shit, she's unconscious. And as I did it, I was like, oops.
Go ahead, Jeff.
No, I've had that happen. I mean, I've had it where, they're concussed or they're not loopy a little bit and not knowing. Worst case, where am I?
Yeah.
Where am I? You're in the middle of a fucking ring, dude. Yep. I mean, I don't know how to guide you home now. Like.
Exactly. So I mean, you depend on what I've been saying lately is I look at it as we're a team, and we're all working together. The three of us, we're trying to put on an entertaining show.
Yeah.
Like Angelo, I hate the term wrestling entertainment. We're a entertaining sport.
Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah, we're an entertaining sport, and it's up to the three of us to make it an interesting show. Hey, go back to even before Angelo's day, you get Strangler Lewis putting on a headlock for half an hour. It's legit wrestling.
Sure.
Yawn. So the three of us have to work together to make an entertaining match and put 6 or 7 of those matches together and have a nice show. And in order to do that, we've got to give and take. And I would hope to think that we're on the same team. That's the problem with some of the younger guys. And I find it the ones who are almost made it. That 15-year veteran who just had a touch, maybe had a tryout. They're so bitter and so angry.
Yeah.
It's always your fault. The guys I've been lucky enough to work with, the legends and some of the bigger names, I've even worked with the Young Bucks and some of these guys. I've never had an issue with them. They get it. They get it. We make mistakes and we're part of a show and they make mistakes and nobody.
I've got a question for both of you. And it's kind of a serious question. In the last couple of years, we've seen, particularly in the lucha style of wrestling, a couple of people died in the ring. It happened with Paraguayo, and it happened recently with Silver King in London. Did the referee during each match do the right thing and have the opponent cover the deceased person?
Wow.
Once again, it's a case by case to me. I've never had anything. The most I've had is maybe a broken leg. And then it's like cover them and then, whatever. A lot of, I would have, obviously I'm going to be sympathetic to the referee, and probably they don't know that they've passed away. It's more, they're hurt. So 1, 2, 3 doesn't take a long time. Cover them 1, 2, 3. Now let's get the, people out there. That's the way I would have done it, probably. I don't think I would know. I'm not a doctor, so I would do the X really fast. But you want to finish the match, and you don't want the fans to worry. I mean, you don't want panic, right? So I'm always.
Well, there was a reason I'm asking. It's happened recently, but it's also happened in the past. A case where Dick Murdoch wrestled a guy who had a heart attack in the ring and died. So Murdoch covered him. The referee counted, raised his hand, and got the man out of the ring. Was that the right thing to do?
I think at that point in time, you kind of got to. I mean, if you don't know as a referee, and this is what Jim's saying too, if I do not know that you are in the middle of having chest pains in the middle of a heart attack, or in Silver King's case that you took a kick to the back and that your heart's bad or whatever it is.
Exactly. Yeah.
If all you did was crumple to the mat, my initial thought, just like Jim, take it home, 1, 2, 3, throw the X up. Let's get everybody from the back out here really quick because we got a problem.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to sit there and go, hold up, your opponent, he's not answering me. He quit breathing. Everybody, he quit breathing. He quit breathing. You don't want to panic either.
I think what bothered me in the case of Silver King was that he was in the ring for a good 6 minutes dead, and they were still doing things to him.
I don't think that anybody knew that he was dead because he was still quivering.
That's a bad spot to be in.
I'm not saying that.
If you're the referee in that situation, God bless you, man. My heart goes out to you because I don't know what the hell I would have done.
I mean, I think that referee at that point in time handled it the best way he could.
You're absolutely right, Jeff. You're absolutely right.
And you have to remember the wrestlers lie to you too.
There you go.
Nobody ever admits that they're hurt, and it really makes me mad. You check on them, and I mean they're doing these devastating moves, and then they're limping or something, and you're going, "Are you okay?" Sure. Referees have a little, thing we do, squeezing the hand. And I'm sure Jeff knows what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah,
and, half the time they don't do it back, and you're going, should I call it? I don't know. After the match, I give them shit and say, look, I said, we're a team, and you got to, you've got to tell me in however way you say, are you really hurt or are you not? I don't know. I can't.
Yeah.
You get a pile driver from Josh Alexander. I'm sorry, or Jeff Cobb or somebody. To me, yeah, that looks serious to me. And if you're really playing,
you know who the biggest offenders are? Boxers, professional boxers. Because they'll never tell you they're hurt.
No, gosh.
The referee will say to a boxer, he'll look in his eyes.
Yeah.
And if this guy's eyes are all over the place and he's glassy-eyed, you got two choices. You either rub the gloves and say, okay, go ahead, or you look at him and go, that's it, done.
And I think Jeff will tell you it's experience too. I had a gentleman last year, Justin Sane, his name is, and what he did was I've worked with him so many times. So he was doing a move and he was just doing basically a body slam, and I saw his leg buckle a little bit, just a little bit. I did the X because I know him well enough to know that was not part of the show. That was not part of the thing. I knew him well. And he thanked me afterwards and said, yeah, I probably would have kept going. He said, you're right. And he was out for 6 months.
Jim's right, because and I think it's just athlete mentality of they can keep on going no matter what. Even football players who have been knocked doozies and they're like, no, coach, put me back in the game. I got it. And it's when as a referee and you go to them and you're going, I just saw your knee buckle and your leg went to the right side. Are you okay? Yeah. Well, brother, you're dragging your leg behind you. Are you sure you're okay? Yeah, I'm fine. No, you're not. Yeah. And now it's up to me to protect you from yourself.
Exactly.
And now to call the match.
There's always a lot of talking going on in that ring that fans don't seem to notice. Because when I watch a match,
I'll tell you what, speaking of a lot of talking, this was a fast hour and a half, I got to tell you.
It really was. It went by really quick.
It sure did. Jim, if you're up to it, I would love to bring you back again.
Oh, please. I'd love to.
Jeff, come on the round table.
I'll talk about my wrestling career at 63. I'll talk about my wrestling career.
I was just going to say to you, Jeff, what's coming up on the Refs Roundtable?
Oh, well, you got me and Mike. We're going to be up there this Tuesday. We may have a guest. We may not. We may just be just the two of us. Who knows? Okay. As I teased, as I teased, there is going to be the infamous catfish story between that me and Mike back before cell phones existed with your picture, and you went by, what do you look like? And the girl would tell you, and a girl happened to say she looked like Cindy Crawford, and
woo,
she looked like she may have come from the backwoods of Canada, needless to say. If you get my point on that one.
Oh my God.
Anyway, we were.
I will plug your social media, kid.
Right. You can catch me, of course, over there on the Twitter feed. Every day, all day, I'm there. You know, I had Jeff Rob 41977. You can catch me on Twitter. You can Facebook me. You know, I'm over there on Wrestling with the Future on Facebook. I see those messages. I look at them. Inbox me, DM me, do whatever you want to do to me. Well, I shouldn't say that, but anyway, you know, and Vanguard Championship Wrestling. We got a show coming up March the 14th, Hampton High School, raising money for the Hampton Crabbers over there, and going to do another big event for another school. And we're bringing in the one, the only Sergeant Slaughter is going to be coming in, and that's going to, yes, sir. And that's going to be pretty big because he doesn't do many appearances these days, and B, it's been a very long time since he's been here in the Mid-Atlantic. So yes, we're looking forward to that. And you can go to vcw-wrestling.com for your tickets, or check them out on Vanguard Championship Wrestling over there on Facebook, and that is where you can find all that info. Oh, by the way, I went to my favorite restaurant, and yours, Angelo.
Oh, you went to see our friend Nunzio at El Forno Restaurant.
I sure did.
1535 Holland Road in Suffolk, Virginia.
There you go.
That's our favorite place. And I'm going to tell you what. You guys go, if you're in the neighborhood, stop in and see Nunzio and his wife, and ask them for the Jeff the Ref special. And what is that? It's stuffed tortellini Alfredo with shrimp.
Well, this week is lasagna.
Oh.
With a special sauce with sausage and meat, and it's delicious.
Oh, are they going to, do they deliver?
Actually, they do. They do. They just added DoorDash on there. So,
do they come to Jersey?
No, I wish. I think if you paid them enough, they might.
Oh, well, I'll tell you what. Again, I want you to really check out our friend Nunzio at El Forno Restaurant, Italian Restaurant and Pizza. It's at 1535 Holland Road in Suffolk, Virginia. Tell them Jeff the Ref and Angelo sent you.
There you go.
Jim, your social media, your Twitter, your Facebook.
You got me hungry. I don't do the Twitter, but I have Facebook and I have Instagram, and that's at Eddie Old School, one word. And check out my YouTube station, and that's Old School Eddington James. You can actually see me wrestle.
All right.
It's very quick.
Excellent.
Don't blink. Don't blink, because Wardlow chases me out of the ring, and he's a big boy.
AEW's Wardlow.
Well, yeah, just before he became famous, he was still a big guy.
There you go.
And at Wrestling with the Future is our Twitter. You can find us there. You can reach us on Facebook. Wrestling with the Future. We are on YouTube, Wrestling with the Future. You can find us on Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Podbean, and Podbay. You can also find us on Twitch TV soon. We will let you know when, but we're going to be on Twitch TV. And you can find us coming soon also on Daily Motion. So we will have 3 video outlets for you, as well as our YouTube. Also, the big news this week, we got merch. See, Jim Connoly, Old School Ref, he's not the only one who sells merch. We got the Wrestling with the Future t-shirt.
Yes, sir.
In print right now. They will be available in 1 week for sale.
And you can pre-order them now, correct?
You can you can go right onto our Podbean site. We've got a link up. We can go to our Facebook site. We have a link up. And once again, it's Wrestling with the Future on Facebook, at Wrestling Future on Twitter. We are Wrestling with the Future on YouTube. Everywhere else, just Google us, Yahoo us. Wrestling with the Future. We're there. We're like shit, baby. We're all over the place. We are all over the place. Again, the T-shirts are going to be available in large, extra large, and 2X. And I'm having a special shirt made for Jeff. And he'll
Big Daddy size.
Yep, big man size.
That's right.
I got to tell you who's coming up this week. We had a big couple of weeks coming up. This week, on Tuesday, former WWE, WWF star, former EWF star, former bodyguard to Benny Hinn and many other celebrities.
Former American Gladiator.
Former American Gladiator. Former Special Ops Green Beret. Rico Costantino will join us.
That's going to be fun.
On Wednesday night, it's Ladies' Night. Princess Victoria, Velvet McIntyre, Casey Carlisle, and Sorceress Morgan to discuss Ladies' Night. And maybe a special run-in from a Glow Girl. Maybe. We'll see. And to fill out that week, on Thursday, the founder of RF Video, Ring of Honor, and an ECW alumni, Rob Feinstein, will be with us. That's not enough. We got a big one coming up. Big one. Cowboy Johnny Mantell and Cowboy Scott Casey. They're going to talk about their time in the Southwest and in world class. And Cowboy Mantell is going to tell us about the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame in Wichita Falls, Texas. And if that's not enough, it gets better. Sal Corrente, the author of Bruno Sammartino, the autobiography of wrestling's living legend, will be with us. He will be joined by Davey O'Hannon. And he will be joined by J.J. Dillon. And that will be April the 7th. That's going to be a star-studded show. And we've got, oh my God, what else? I don't know right now because I don't have my calendar in front of me. But we've got a busy couple of months coming up. So join us every week, every Tuesday, every Thursday. Join Jeff the Ref's Roundtable. And join his co-host, Mike Kelleher. By the way, let me plug Mike's show, Legacy List with Matt Paxton, featuring Mike Kelleher. He's the stuff guy. Self-described stuff guy.
Yep.
So on behalf of Jeff the Ref, I'm Psychic Medium Angelo. Thank you, Jim. Old school, or I should say, Fast Eddie Money, or fast. All right, I forgot that quick. Do that again, Fast. What is it?
What's your name? Your work name?
School Eddington James, and this is Old School.
Eddington.
1, 2, 3. I'm out of here.
There you go.
Take care, you guys.
All right. Goodbye, everyone.
Have a good one, brother. Good night. Bye-bye, everybody.